Ladies and gentlemen, good day, good day, good day. So, today I'm gonna show you a Core Necro guide. I'm gonna show you how to play Core Necro. It's gonna be a Core Necro guide. In request of Alliance Leader. And I think it's also good timing since we played a lot. Overall, Core Necro has two jobs to do, like two main jobs to do in the squad, and it has two variants which you can swap on the spot. We go over the two variants first. We have the standard build, full strips, scepter, sword, axe, focus. Specific, you see that on the scepter trade line. Like this is called the scepter trade line. It makes it the scepter free is an AoE. There's the greatsword variant which just swaps this trait and you swap to greatsword instead of scepter sword. Besides that, completely same thing. No big difference, nothing special. Besides that, everything else plays the completely same, except of course instead of scepter rotation you have greatsword rotations. I'm gonna go into that later on though. We start with the scepter version because I think that's the most common one, especially when we think about range comp. So, to start off with what you're generally doing. As a Core Necro, your main job is stripping. Strips is the most crucial thing here when we look at the playstyle and the job. And how do we do this effectively without just spamming skills? Because you can go ahead and just straight up spam everything and it will somehow work, but that's not the goal. The goal is to play efficient. It's all about commander calls. I'm gonna go over some examples, and from there on I hope that you have enough insight to adapt towards commander calls that you hear. If a commander goes close towards enemy and enemy is just standing there and he's calling for some range spike, you do not want to be on X focus in that moment. For a normal range spike, what I would recommend is going for a classic 3-4 on Scepter Sword. 3-4 on Scepter Sword is gonna have one AoE strip, especially if it crits, it's gonna trigger Sigil of Fire together with Nullification, and you have another AoE hit which is gonna do some nice damage, which is just gonna add up on top of it. On top of that, if you have the time, you also can go for 3-4-2-4 recast. That's gonna do a lot more damage, because the recast is very nice and the 2 just adds up with very nice additional damage plus some cripple plus some bleeding. It's just overall very very nice range spike. This is just if the command is just calling range damage and nothing specifically. If you're running double Necro in your party, you can go for group target and you can spike together with Spinal Shivers. Two Spinal Shivers, especially with boons, which I cannot give myself right now, but especially with boons, is gonna hit quite a lot. Like you approach enemy and then you press 5 into 2. Of course for 2 you need to be 900, Spinal Shivers 1200, so this was a prime example of how not to do it. And it's gonna like pretty much ship down enemy. A standalone Spinal Shiver doesn't do as much. Spinal Shiver with boons, with 3 boons plus, is flat damage of 2.2k damage. As a crit, this is roughly going to be, depending on the ferocity, how much ferocity do we have right now? 209%, so we're looking at a juicy 6 to 8k crit. To get, depending on if you actually crit, and depending on how much might, and if the enemy has vulnerability. That's like...
I may not survive.
Alright, that's sorted. Together with boons and maybe some conditions on enemies, very nice. So that is the two variants if we go by what we can do when we talk about range damage. What is for a big spike. Enemies, commanders calling welts. What do we want to prio? For every well counter, you want to be in X focus. For the pure fact, if we're going for a well spike, enemies calling down welts 3, 2, 1 on 3, 2, and as soon as commander speaks us 2, or like if it's 2, 1, like whenever commander finishes the first number, you can already go for X3 and into casting the welts where they're going to be, which is going to be looking like roughly like this. And this, let alone, like you saw it, without any boons, I completely shipped down a Weaver and completely shipped down to 10% Troubadour. This is like a prime example of what to do in a well spike. You go X3, Wells, Shroud, 4. That's bread and butter. There's nothing more to this. X3, Wells, Shroud, skill 4. And you do the same when you have no Wells. Enemy is commanders calling for a push. You go X, Sigil of Locust, and 4. You don't even need to look there. And then now what else can we do in Shroud? We have one skill, which is going to be a single target strip. It doesn't do that much damage. Don't recast this, because it's going to teleport you. And we have skill number 3, which is going to be a nice fear. Hello. Which is going to be a nice fear. It doesn't do that much damage. And one of the better skills, skill 5. Skill 5 actually kicking down on enemy is going to be a nice 3k hit. Plus, it's going to reveal targets and immobilize it when the charge goes through. So, to sum this up, because this was probably very fast, Well Spike is going to be... Oh, wait, let me get off combat so that I can recover. Well Spike is going to be X3, Wells, going into Shroud, skill 4. Always. Let me get some life force back. Small tip as Necro, you can summon minions, explode them, and they give you life force. So you can go earlier back into Shroud. You can do this always when you're out of combat. Just be careful, it puts the skill on cooldown. So back to the topic. What do we do besides that? You always 1-1-1. You can spam that on both weapons. There's no problem 1-1-1ing. And you just rotate. You literally go... If we start on X, you go 3-5-2, 1-1-1. We are on Scepter. 3-4-2, 1-1-1. Weapon swap 3-5-2, 1-1-1. Should 5 not be ready? 3-2, 1-1-1. Like you always go with 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2 on all weapon skills. Same here. The skill might not be 4 might not be ready. You go 3-2, 1-1-1. And you always wait. The most important thing is you wait with your Shroud until commander actually wants to push for damage. Because the important thing is, especially if we look at the Greatsword version, you have in the Greatsword version, in the Scepter Sword version, you have one trade line, and in the Greatsword version, you have 2 trade lines, which trigger when going into Shroud. You want to be close for that. That doesn't have a lot of range. This one has 600, this one has 240. Okay, you want to be close. Going into Shroud at this range won't do anything. Nothing. It doesn't do anything. You need to be close to be actually effective with the Shroud. It's very important that you keep that in mind. Know your ranges. A good range to get into Shroud is this right here. It's also going to hit with 4. It's also going to hit with 5. Everything else hits as well. This is like the optimal range. And you need to really make sure that you keep that in mind so that you are not wasting your Shroud. So, how do we get strips on demand? What is everything that strips whenever there's damage called? Because remember, call for damage, we want to strip. You always want to combine 2 strips. That's why I also was adamant about the weapon rotation. Strip 1, strip 2 with recast. But Max, skill 4 doesn't have strips. No, but we have Nullification in. Nullification, remove a boon from a foe striking from its flank or when they are defined. this skill, you can place it to the side or behind enemy and it's gonna always strike from a flank. Same with the AoE of this one. It's always gonna strike from a flank, yeah? Keep that in mind when you go about this rotation. Same with X. You wanna combine X3 with X5. Always 2 strips. If 5 or 4 on the other weapon set is not ready, combine it with the healing signet or the signet of Locust. Why the healing signet? Look closely what happens above my head when I press it. You see the second signet? Looks like this one, right? Yes, because we trigger a lesser signet of Locust when we use our healing skill. It's 2 boons removed for 5 targets. 2 boons with this trade line. If we play something else, it's only going to be 1 boon. Same with this one. It got 2 boons on 5 targets on cast because of the trade line. And that's exactly what we're playing for. That's exactly what we are aiming for. Signet of Locust is going to end up stripping 10 boons for free on press. And you have it twice. Alright? If you really want to strip an enemy naked, your strongest combo which you can do is you go heal Signet cast from a distance, X3, Signet of Locust, This is within the strongest strip combination, especially when you can get close by without using welds. Of course, nothing is gonna outperform a well spike, right? Alright. To sum everything slow and steady together, we go step by step. Number 1, always pair strips. Not only 1 strip, pair them. Always 2. Know what your strips are on your weapon kits and know that you have Sigil of Fire and Sigil of Nullification in. Yeah? Second, rotate your weapon skills. Keep spamming weapon skills on enemies. It's automatically going to strip and you're going to do damage. That's where core Necro gets its damage from. If you're not spamming skills, you're doing something wrong. You need to press those buttons. You're not a sleeper DPS like an Untamed who hasn't burst, who needs to wait for a lineup. You are spamming. You get in the vicinity of an enemy, you spam that shit, okay? With any of the weapon sets. Number 3. Look for the well spike. Listen to commander. Go deep welds or go close welds. Range spike and welds. And then remember what you have to do. Skill 3. Welds down. Shroud. Yeah? Always. Remember that. Welds down. X3. Welds down. Go into Shroud. Skill 4. And you do this every time you go into Shroud. You wanna X3, go into Shroud, and skill 4. Always. It's always the same combination of skills that you're using no matter where you're going. But again, make sure that you are aware of your ranges. So, with everything else, down to Necro, be mindful you are quite tanky because of the double HP bar, but you're not immortal. Don't over-welcome your stay. If you are feeling that you're getting too close, step back. It's no problem. Your DPS strip, you're allowed to like a second row gameplay every now and then. So, is there anything else to the kit that we need to understand it now? Yes, there's one more thing, more or less 2. If we go into the greatsword kit, I'm not gonna put any sigils in right now because it's just for demonstration purposes. You have the Plague Lens coil. What is Plague Lens? Plague Lens is a field that you put down almost looking like a well, which is ticking conditions. You see it first pull, second pull, third pull, and so on, and it ticks damage. Is the damage good? No, the damage is not good. You see it, it's like 300, 400 damage. What it does though is it's pressuring the enemy. It's spamming them with damage. It's pulsing your Sigil of Fire and Sigil of Nullification, and it puts a shitload of conditions onto the enemy. And that's exactly what Plague Lens is for. It's same with a Breach, but in a less dangerous version. Plague Lance is a stopping tool. Plague Lance gets put down on your feet when you either want to prevent an enemy counter pushing you, or when an enemy is pushing you and you want to stop them on doing so. How can we enhance our stopping power? Especially when you're playing the Greatsword build with the trade line and Greatsword in. Nightfall plus Plague Lance is super strong. It's not as strong anymore as before the nerfs. Before the nerfs, Plague Lance pulsed strips, not Plague Lance, Nightfall pulsed strips or boon convert on every tick. Now it's only the first hit. How does that exactly look like? If we look at the enemy, only this first 600 damage which you saw then, on the very first hit, that's the one that's converting the boons. But it's still very strong. It's pulsing blindness, it's pulsing cripple, and it has very nice damage. It's like 600, 800 crit hits on every tick. It's not the world, but it definitely helps with stacking up the damage. Especially you need to imagine, you're not the only one doing it. You have multiple people in the squad that are gonna put up some stopping power. Right? So, the first three things, if you would ask me what to focus on, is get value out of your weapon rotations. Make sure that you play the weapons rotation fluent. Number 2 is make sure that you practice well placement and that you understand when the enemy is moving. That you place the wells into the head of the enemy. 1 second, I'm going to tell them to walk from left to right. Let's see if that will in time. So you see, enemy is walking, and he keeps walking. You do not want to place a well right on top of them. That's a bad well. Where you want to put a well is in front of enemy. That's where you want to put the well, purely because you're gonna get more hits. If you put a well on top of the enemy, you get maybe one or two hits. If you put a well in front of the enemy, you're gonna get 3, 4 hits, and even better, you're gonna convert the boons that people are gonna cast to keep the people moving, yeah, which is even more important. And the same thing works with the Scepter 2 skill, the same thing works with the Sword 4 skill, and yeah, if you're aiming for single targets with X focus, there you can aim for the backline. Because the people in the backline are going to be the ones that are most likely going to be stuck. Of course, you can Spinal Shiver as 2 Necros in your party. Someone from the middle of the squad will go down stat as well on a well spike. But if it's about picking up targets, backline. Oh. And the last thing is, make sure that you watch your positioning. For positioning purposes, what I can always give people on hand, if they have to practice it, look from above when you're fighting the enemy. You don't know where enemy is? Look, put camera back. Look, put camera back. This is a lot easier to understand because you're going to cast the skill. You're going to see, oh, the skill ended there. I didn't hit. So wait, if I go this close now. Oh, now it's hitting. It's the same range, so now it's hitting. Okay? So keep that in mind when you're looking at playing the class. And besides that, press your buttons, yeah? Don't sleep on them, don't wait. As soon as enemy is close, start pressing buttons. The Evoker will also not wait. So, besides that, I would say thank you very much, and I hope it did help.